Kelly Latibola here, and we are celebrating the August 2016 release for Wplus9. Today I'm going to be using the Bunny Masquerade set, which is a super adorable idea of it has 3 bunnies in it, and then all the bunnies have costumes. So you kind of mix and match your costumes. I knew I wanted to build a scene, and I was going to be doing it with the dies that coordinate with this set. So I'm stamping out all of my images on some white cardstock from Wplus9 using Intense Black ink by Simon Says Stamp. This is Copic Safe ink. That's a little blacker than a what is that? Memento Tuxedo Black. That's what I used to use. So it's just a little darker, a little more solid. So I'm going to stamp all those out, and then we're going to hop right into the Copic coloring. I wanted the bunnies to be white, so I'm only going to be adding in just some shadows with my cool grays. When you're coloring anything white, you want to make sure that you are leaving actual white, so really you are just adding in the shadows. I kind of just gave him a little bit of shading around the side of his face, underneath his head that would cast a shadow, and then on the inside of his legs. I colored all of the bunnies pretty much the same. I added shading to just the sides of their faces, under their chins, and to where their legs would sit. I think this, I haven't seen anything like this set before, and I think it's totally adorable that you can kind of just interchange. There's a fox and a raccoon, a bear, a moose, a little strap-on pig nose and curly tail. There's just a ton, and they all have little matching sentiments, which is totally adorable. So I wanted to add some pink to their ears, and I just picked a couple of really light R's. This is R20, and then I'm going to blend it out with the R00. Just to get a good, nice blend on their ears, and I'll use the same combination later for the masks for their ears. I knew I wanted to do a scene, and so these pumpkins and those little banners were kind of like an integral part of being able to add some color into my scene. When I do pumpkins, I prefer to do a round highlight that lays flat against the pumpkin because it is a round object. So I leave my highlight right in the center. I have to tell you, I was a little apprehensive about coloring these because normally I do one layer projects. I don't use dies, and with dies you always have the white border around it. Well, when you're doing one layer, you don't have to be nearly as careful about your coloring. So I was just a little apprehensive about getting anything outside of the lines on that white. Here, I just wanted to do the banners, like colorful little Halloween colors. I know it's terrifying to think about Halloween in August, but it actually is not that far away. So I put down a base color, did a little bit of shading from the top down, and then for my darkest color, I just did the line where the banner is creased. So not a ton of shading going on there. For the masks, I wanted to stick to, I knew it was going to be busy. Okay, I knew because I was putting all of these masks in there, all of these decorations, the background. I just knew it was going to be a busier card, which is different for me because normally I'm very clean and simple. But I just couldn't not use all of the, like, I was sad to leave the little pig and the raccoon out, but there was only so much room on the card. So I knew I wanted to keep my color scheme relatively simple. So I picked 2 groupings of browns, and that's what I used for all of the masks. To give them just a little bit of texture, for the fur, the quote-unquote fur, I am using really short, light-handed strokes to not completely blend. It's easier to see once we get to the darker colors, but basically I'm just flicking on just a little bit of color to get some texture that looks like hair, that looks like fur, so that they don't just look one flat color. Would it have been a big deal if I chose them to do one flat color? No, because they're masks. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I remember being in like my local drugstore when I was growing up, trying to find something that I wanted to be for Halloween, and everything was like super flat, one-dimensional, like you put on a cape and you put on a mask, and like that was it, which is consequently why I was a punk rocker like every single year until I was done trick-or-treating, because I got to wear fun makeup and put colors in my hair. But so I don't think, like, if you wanted to go super simple coloring, I don't think that that would be a big deal, because a lot of those Halloween costumes are exactly that. They're just a very simple, you know, 1, maybe 2-dimensional color. That's not how I chose to go, but I have a problem with adding detail, and I don't know when to stop. So I'm just doing the same thing, blending all of those colors out, doing those little short strokes. I'm going to bring back in those cool grays to just add in that little bit of detail for the fox, because he does have that white stripe on his, and the little white area on his tail. So just super simple, little bit of gray, and then we're going to move on to the next round of browns. I chose some redder browns, some warmer browns. You could definitely go the warm and a cool, kind of mix it up. That's just not what I chose to do. So for the bear and the moose, I used these the E55 or E50 family. But for the bear, I concentrated on using the E53, 55, and 57. For the moose, I added in the 59, so he would be just a hair darker. But I did the same thing with the blending, started with my lightest color, did the short, simple strokes to kind of blend, and here's where you can really see what I'm talking about as far as those little short fur strokes. Well, I had that brown out, I went ahead and colored in the handles of the pumpkins. But you can see here, it's a lot easier to see with a darker color that I'm just kind of flicking on the color, and I'm going like a little above each of the colors where it's more solid. I'm just going a little above so that they'll blend out nicely and look like fur. And this obviously applies to any animal that you would like to be coloring. It's a great technique to get some texture, get some dimension in any animal that you chose to do. Rabbits down there, I could have done it with them, but they're short hair, so it's really hard to see like the texture in a white rabbit, so I didn't even bother. Once I have all of those done and I'm happy with the way that they look, really the only thing left to do is the banners, and I colored them the same way. Oh, we're going to do their ears, sorry, ears and the same pinks as before. But with the banners, I really just showed you the color combinations I used because I colored them all the same way, and I showed you the orange ones. So basically I just color, the whole thing with the lightest color, a little bit of shading with the medium color, and then one line of the darkest color. And this was just, like I said, to kind of bring in some color to the background I was doing. Since I was so paranoid about coloring outside the lines, I went back in with my 0 marker and just kind of cleaned up anywhere where I felt like I went outside the lines. I'm going to pull out those dies now, line them up. They're super easy. You can totally see right through them to see where the stamped areas are. I'm using some washi tape to hold them in place. And then I'm going to go ahead and start running them through my big shot. There was a couple, like the banners, the pumpkins, those I had to cut multiple times. While I was in the middle of this, I realized that I wanted the bunny with his arms open to be holding a banner that said party, and I forgot to stamp it. I would highly recommend stamping anything before you do the die cutting. Make sure you're completely done with the piece before you die cut it, because it's really hard to chase around that little teeny tiny piece. So I had to stop what I was doing so I could stamp the party. I used the largest layer from Gift Cuts Layers dies to add some stitching to my panel. And then I also used the it's from the last release, the Trees Borders die, to build up my background. I'm using Distressing to add some color. This is Wilted Violet, and I'm working my way from the top down. I knew I wanted there to be like a little halo of light on my horizon line. And then just to deepen up that color more toward the top, I'm going to be using Dusty Concord to just kind of put some of that color down. Not all the way. I don't want to cover the Wilted Violet. I just want to add some deeper color on the edges. For the tree portion of it, I used a Twisted Citron. And here, like, these are really delicate pieces, these trees. And so sometimes that can get a little tricky. When I have like that single tree, I don't do it in a circular motion. I just kind of hold it down with my finger and then just swipe it across there until I get enough color on that I'm happy with. To deepen up this one, I used Mowed Lawn. I wanted to go with bright, happy colors. I felt like my characters were, bright, happy people. They're about to get their party on. So I didn't go too dark, which sometimes I have a tendency to do in my backgrounds. Here, I'm just fitting them back together like puzzle pieces, the die cuts that I already did, and I'm just going to tape them so that they're back to one piece. However, you'll notice in the middle there's no pieces because I forgot to save them. So I'm not cutting this again and trying to ink up these little teeny tiny things to match my background. I just traced it onto my card base, found a Copic that matched, and colored in the background. Now, they're not the same level, but the reality of the situation is with everything else that was going on the card, nobody was going to be paying attention to the fact that those 3 little holes were not on the same level, as long as the color matched. So I just opted to do the Copic. It's all about the little tricks, folks. It's all about the little things you can do to keep your sanity. So I'm using Tombow Mono Multi Glue. I adhered that down to my card base. Now I'm going to start building up the background. These are the little banners that I had cut. I thought they would look super cute in the trees, just, you know, a little festive. And then I wanted to pop up some of the characters. I ended up, the one that was in the middle, I put him on a double layer of Scotch foam tape. And this was just so everybody could fit nicely in a group together. Some of the other ones, I just did, you know, the one layer. And you'll see me switch these here. And it's because I realized I need the thinner piece on the fox so I can fit that tail behind him. I can just slide it in and not have to worry about it. So started with my center point, which was my my double layered party banner bunny or bear, however you want to look at it. And then I'm just going to start building them up. I added the bunny on foam, but then I glued the tail flat, so there's, you know, just a little bit of dimension. All of the bunnies are on foam. Some of the pumpkins are, some of the pumpkins are flat. I just kind of played around with it till I found something that I liked. Now, I will warn you, I did all of this before stamping my sentiment, and the reason that I could do that was because the sentiment was going to be up so high. If your sentiment is going to be closer, you want to stamp that before you add anything with foam adhesive, because it can get in the way of your block, and you won't be able to get a complete impression flat on your card base. So here I'm using Wplus9 Pure Black ink. I've never used this stamp before, so I'm stamping it off on a scratch piece of paper first. Make sure everything's all good, no fuzzies, no dog hair, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp it on my card. I felt like the top gut was a little boring, so shimmer to the rescue, as always. So this is Wplus9 Shimmer Spray. You want to shake it up because all of the shimmer sits on the bottom. And then just very controlled, I added just a little bit of spatters to the top, just to add some interest and kind of balance the design. Pulled out my writing pen to just darken up their eyes and their nose, make sure amongst all of that fur they were standing out. And that is the complete card. So if you are watching this in August of 2016, there'll be a link below to the Wplus9 blog, and you can head over there and check out the entire new release, which is totally fabulous. And I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye.